And we are back. Hello, Divas. Happy New Year and happy new season 4. We are back. Yay!
It's
Woo-hoo!
season
Can you believe it?
4, 2023. Let's make it live.
Yes.
Exactly. Guess what? Okay, this is Vanita, in case the listeners don't know and you're new.
And this is BJ. I know you know me.
Cheryl T is on the mic and video since we now recording and putting on YouTube.
Okay. I'm glad you put our business out in the street because that's where we needed to go. Exactly. So you know what, y'all? God has blessed Kitchen Island Tea to bring back real talk to our listeners for another season. We are happy to be back.
Oh, yeah.
And we just want to thank our listeners in the United States and abroad for all your support. Okay. Our success to include awards over the years is due to our fan base. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Just like they say in church 3 times, thank you. So, ladies, we get to hang out for another season.
I am so happy about that.
Yay.
I need you all.
I know, I need y'all. This is my therapy. I don't have to pay for therapy or a therapist. Y'all are the ones.
Let's just pray Cheryl never starts charging us.
Oh, I know, right? I know, right? She better.
I think I'll be rich if I charge everybody that I gave counseling to.
Exactly. So I'm happy we get to hang out for another season. We're going into season 4. This podcast was birthed in 2020 during the pandemic, and we are still going strong, y'all.
I feel
it.
So what's been going on? Let's catch up. And I know for me, I had surgery back in November, and I'm still recovering. And
we're recovering with you.
Right. And so the doctor told me ahead of time how long the process was going to be. And I was like, okay, I got this. But I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going stir crazy in this house, sitting on my butt. Okay.
So remind us of the date of the surgery.
It was November 29th, 2022.
So our listeners can see that's a long time. I just want to add something.
Yes.
Your daughter has been Florence Nightingale for a long time.
So yes, so I'll get to that. So I still need to use a walker and my knee rolling scooter, but I'm making progress. And that's thanks to Beverly, you just said it, my daughter, Ashley, who has been my nurse. Thank you, my beautiful daughter, Ashley. So that's me in a nutshell for the last 2.5 months. What's going on with you, Beverly?
Oh, I've been visiting you and praising Ashley on how well she's done and just trying to get acclimated to the new year and don't make any resolutions, but do a few things better. I'm still trying to get closer to God and be sure he recognizes my voice. And so
me too,
I'm in prayer, I'm studying more. So that kind of thing,
That's funny. Whenever I pray, I'm like, okay, it's me, Vanita. And then I think about you, Beverly.
I wanted to know me.
It's your 2 little amigas down here. Do you recognize us?
And I guess the last thing, I'm still reminiscing and remembering my very close friend, Brenda Square. And each time I try to do something on the technology side, I get a little weepy because that was my technology guru. I just asked her. I didn't have to worry about it, but I still lean on you guys too. But just a shout out to the family and friends of Brenda Square.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She will be sorely missed.
Yes, she will. Yes, she will.
What's up, Cheryl?
I knew it was my turn next. Well, let me see what's going on in my world. Oh, wow. I got a new position at work, so I'm running like a crazy woman with her head cut off.
Yay, Cheryl's finally working.
I am finally working. Can you believe it?
Yes.
And for the new year, I was trying to think of, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I was trying to think of like a phrase that I can go by for guide my new year. Mm-hmm. And I did a sermon being chosen by God, that we are chosen. Don't worry about being everybody has, not everybody, but some people have this perception of abandonment or rejection, but we were chosen by God. So I thought about being chosen. I thought about being intentional. And then finally it just came to me, I'm just going to be flow in what God has for me. Leave room for the miracle. We plan everything. Why can't we just leave some time to just flow and see what God has for us? So my phrase or word for this year is just be.
I like it.
I do too. That's awesome. Yeah, that's good words of wisdom.
And Cheryl, you just from talking with you, guess what my little saying was? Be kind. Because you know I'm busy bee. So I had to be kind. So thank you. You confirmed it.
And you're always kind.
Always.
You're always kind.
Are you never not kind, Beverly?
Occasionally, yes.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Ask people in the service industry, my grandson.
Oh, you're right.
My husband.
I have seen you, and I wouldn't put it as not kind, just stern and mean business. How about that?
But I'm working on being kind.
She has you have high expectations for the type of services that are rendered to you.
Exactly.
And because you render great service to people and you give great care to people, and your expectations are just high in that area. So when they're not met, you kind of give people guidance on how to get there.
What'd you say, Beverly?
I just see him as reasonable.
Yeah, I think we all have those expectations, especially if we're paying for a service. We just expect to get what we're paying for. And sometimes we get disappointed, and nothing's perfect. Servers are not perfect. It's just not a perfect world. But when you have high expectations and you're paying top dollar, and I know that's you, Cheryl, all day long, you expect to get what you're paying for.
Well, sometimes, but at the same time, we extend grace because we don't know what that person is going through that particular day. So we have to extend grace no matter how much money you're paying. People are still human. You know what I mean? And they may have having a bad day.
Kind.
Yeah. Yep. Be kind. I love it.
And be kind.
Yeah. You're right. And I do think about that sometimes, Cheryl, when I don't want to tip somebody because I feel like, they didn't do a good job. But then I'm thinking, maybe they're having a bad day. They didn't sleep last night. Maybe their mom's got cancer. Maybe, they stubbed their toe. Maybe they got docked their pay. And I have to reel through and tone it back. And it's like, okay, come on, Vanita. Be a giver, be a lover, be kind, like Beverly said.
Yeah, because you never know what people are going through. And that's what I have experienced over the years, realizing that, okay, they're probably going through something. Let me kind of hone in. And I'll tell you an example, and I know we probably talking, might go to another topic. I went to go pick up some medication at the pharmacist, and this young lady, you can tell she was on edge because she was snapping at me. And, I was like, okay. So I had to take a little minute, and I just asked her, I said, hi, are you okay? And she said, thanks for asking. No, I'm not really okay. And she just started to talk. So instead of me going at her saying, you don't have to talk to me like that. Can you just get I didn't go off on her. I felt like she needed someone to talk to. And once she talked, she was all smiles by the end of it. And she said, thank you so much. So sometimes we just have to gauge people and see what's going on with them versus, snapping back or clapping back at them.
I always say people don't look like their journey, like what they're going through. They can be all smiles, and I know I do that. You put on a facade because sometimes you don't want to bring everybody else down, but sometimes you can't hide it, with your actions or your face, So, everybody doesn't look like their journey. So go ahead, Beverly. What were you going to say?
Oh, my mom always says, are you listening? And just listen and hear what somebody has to say and pay attention. That's what she's always telling me. Pay attention. And then I'll say, well, I hear you. And she'll say, are you listening? And so when you pay attention to other people and really listen to them, like Cheryl said, she could tell just by the young lady's, the way she was speaking, that she needed something. And so that's what we got to do.
Okay. We got to get her on the podcast, your mother. Can you please
I know.
talk to her?
99, you all.
I want her on so bad. She has so many things she can share, the wisdom, and think about it. She's been on this earth almost 100 years.
I know.
Yes.
Yikes.
That would be amazing to have her on our podcast.
We'll try.
Talk to her, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to take a quick break because we're coming back and we have a special surprise. All right, so we are back at the island, and so it is February, and we are celebrating Black History Month a little later in this episode. But for right now, February is also about love, and there's that little thing called Valentine's Day in February. And so we're going to celebrate love and Valentine's here at the island. Here at the island, we want to celebrate love in a very special way with our special guests today. We are happy to have them here to share their love journey. Did y'all hear me? Love journey?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's truly heartwarming and inspiring. So without further ado, we are honored to have Bobby and Shira Brown join us here at the island. Yay!
Yay! Welcome, you all.
We're honored to be here.
Yes, we are so happy you took time out of your busy schedules after you put your kids to bed to hang out with us here at the island. So welcome, 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 like they say in church.
Well, thank you, Bobby and Shira, for joining us, and happy pre-Valentine's Day to both of you.
Thank you.
So I understand you guys have done some great things for each other, and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later on in the podcast, but first I want to find out just about your journey, as Benita stated. How did you all meet, and how long have you been married?
So we first met in 2010 at a house party.
Oh, not the house party. I love it.
Yeah. We met at a house party. And so I was at the very end of a relationship, and I actually told Shira that I was finishing a relationship, wasn't completely out of it. And so we exchanged numbers, talked maybe once, and then that was kind of it. It just kind of faded away.
Wasn't the right time.
Shira, you sound like you got a different story.
Yeah, tell your side, Shira.
Later, it was like 2 years.
No, about a
year later, our timing worked out. We were both coaching. I was teaching and coaching at the time. Bobby wasn't teaching, but his friend was the coach at my school, and he would come help his friend coach. And so we saw each other at all the practices and games, and then started talking by the end of the season. And here we are now. Been married 7 years now. 7 and a half.
Wow, 7 years is completion. So which sport were you guys coaching?
Basketball.
Oh, so we got love and basketball here.
Love and basketball.
We like it. We like it. I think you all have a wonderful way that you met. And what made it fizzle out, but then you came back to each other. So what was your first impression of each other? Something made you come back to each other.
Well, of course, we were coaching. And so keep in mind, we may have talked once and then it kind of fizzled out. And so once I started coaching, I didn't want it to be weird. I didn't want her to think I had any hard feelings or anything. So after every game, I was completely a gentleman, like good game, coach, and, just little things like that. Because I actually thought she was in a relationship. So I just, kept it hi, bye, good game, coach, or whatever. And so that's how I played it the entire season.
So what kind of person, what did you think about her though? Did you think, oh, she's might be the one? Or did you think, I don't know about her?
She was very intriguing because I knew I'd never dated a female like Shira. She was just different. She was extremely easygoing, no drama. And so that's what kind of drew me to her. But I still kept it professional. And I didn't say anything to her out of the way because I didn't want it to be weird.
So I'll say,
Shira, what about you?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I think I really started the connection again because I saw him all the time at the basketball games and I thought he was cute. So I told his friend that I work with, like, hey, your friend's looking good over there, who planted the little bird to him. And that's what made him like talk to me like, oh, okay. So, but I, like you said, he was always kind. He was easygoing too. And I just thought it was amazing that he would spend his time after work, not being an educator, but like coming to schools after he got off work to help coach kids that he didn't have to do just for fun, to help his friends. So that said a lot about him. So he was just always nice and easy to talk to. And I thought he was cute.
Easy on the eyes, easy to talk to.
Yeah, that makes it all worthwhile. Well, I know a little about both of your parents. So how did your parents influence your relationship?
Well, influence our relationship. So I'll say the first time I invited Bobby to my house, that was my parents. So my dad is a pastor, that, and my dad, I would say both of my parents were always very quiet about my relationships. They would let me just kind of, do what I need to do, not saying much, no comment, and just let me make my own decisions. It was always after a relationship that they would really tell me how they felt.
Yeah.
The first time that I invited Bobby to the house, Bobby was a charmer, just talking. He said he was nervous, but he just talking sports. I mean, just being his normal self. And clearly my parents fell in love with him because I know that, because when he was gone, my dad, who never says anything about anybody, any relationship, he was quiet. He stopped what he was doing and said, he seems like a keeper.
Oh,
Said something about a guy, about anybody. What? I was like, well, I feel like that too, but it was just amazing to hear that from him. So they just loved Bobby from the beginning because they could see that he loved me and how he treated me. So he's always had a good relationship with my parents.
good.
You passed the dad test. That's awesome.
The first time he met him,
wow.
That says a lot, Bobby. That says a lot about you.
We just clicked. We clicked.
What about your parents?
So for my parents, I think since the first day they met Shara, they probably thought she could walk on water. And so fast forward to now, and just imagine with her giving me a kidney.
Wow.
You can do no wrong.
Yeah. So my family threatens me and says if I ever mess this up, they're getting rid of me. They're keeping Shara. So I mean, they all adore Shara, which I do too, and I see why. But they love her, from my parents to my aunts, my cousins, just everybody. They love Shara.
Beautiful. Well, thank you all for sharing. That's awesome.
That's awesome to hear that. And Bobby, you opened the safe way for me to open up the next part of our questions, which is letting our listeners know what kind of love you have and what you're sharing besides love, and that is body parts. So let our listeners know how you first got the news that, what your condition was and what needed to happen.
Okay, so I went to a routine doctor's appointment last year in March.
Okay.
And just to kind of give you a backdrop, I changed jobs in 2018, and the job that I had, we had to get DOT physicals every year. And so once I left that job, I drug my feet on getting a primary care physician. So the last time I went to the doctor was in 2018, and everything was great. So by the time I got to 2022 in March and I went to the doctor, they realized that my blood pressure was sky high. And the weird thing about that was that I didn't have any symptoms. I might have had a headache here and there, but also have allergies and sinuses. So I never really thought much of it. And so what we found out is that when your blood pressure is high for a long period of time, it wears on your kidneys. So after a few more doctor's appointments, and as they kept digging, they came back and was just like, you're in stage 5 renal failure. And so, when it comes to stage 5, I mean, that is the last stage. There's nothing else after that. And so that's how we found out. That's how I found out.
Wow. And was Shira with you when you found out, or Shira, how did you find out?
So I was not with him at that first appointment, and so we are very different on how we process information. He gets it. I'm like one that likes the details. I like to know all the details. So he
That's the educator in you.
Right. I didn't know details. We came home and said, they said something about renal failure, and here's some packets, but I have an appointment again in 2 weeks. They're gonna run some more blood work and see what's going on. But the doctor said you should come with me next time. Okay, so 2 weeks, renal failure, and my brain, I mean, I could use context clues. I'm like, hey, renal failure, that's some kind of organ failure, right? And then I look at all these pamphlets and I'm like, okay. I look at the stage chronic kidney disease and all the stages that they show from 1 to 5, and I'm looking at his numbers and I'm like, 5? What do you mean? And there's information in this folder about dialysis, about a transplant. So it was just a lot for me to process at that moment. I could only imagine how he was processing it because he went to the appointment by himself. And then I get this, asking questions and what do they tell you? What is all this? That probably got on his nerves, but it was just because I cared and I was trying to process all of that. So for me, I would say it was hard at first because we were just living our normal lives. There were no obvious symptoms that he was this sick. And so it was hard for our brain to process that, you're in kidney failure and looking at the treatments for that, but you seem to be feeling fine. What did we miss? We could have gone like, we could have, should have, would have done all this, but what can we do moving forward? So it took some grasping on understanding, okay, all right, you're sick, but what can we do moving forward to help? What are our options? And that's when I went to, go ahead.
So all indications, he seemed normal and healthy.
Yeah.
He did. And one of the biggest symptoms I know they mentioned were fatigue. And I'm like, well, we have a 1 and a 3-year-old, like we're always tired. So it wasn't, I mean, sometimes I feel like I was more tired than him. So that was not a factor, that was glaringly obvious at that time. Now looking back, like, okay, it probably was fatigue, but we were both always tired with just having little kids.
Wow. So next step, you go on a list, or how does that work? Did they tell you can go on a list? Do you go to the top of the list? I've just heard kind of horror stories about being on a list and that you have to be financially stable and make so much of, an income bracket to even be on a list. Is that all true?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different weird rules when it comes to going on the list, but I definitely did go on a list. And so at that point, we also just changed my diet, because the thing about it is, you hear all kind of stories, and you can actually be dealing with this for 5 months to 5 years to 10 years. I mean, you just don't know what your situation is going to be. So we just really, all you could really do is do the best you could do every day. And so what we immediately started to do was change my diet. We went to low sodium, low potassium, and I also started taking some holistic medicine as well. And so crazy thing about it is just that you're about to go on this journey. You have no clue how long it's going to last. So it really put us in a situation to where all you could really do is live day by day. And it took a couple of weeks for me to kind of grasp that. And then I had to kind of break it down to Shira too, what I was feeling, what I was trying to do, because it's like, I can't worry about if I'm going to be sick 2 or 3 months down the line. I feel good today. So I'm gonna make the most of today. And that was probably the hardest transition because you know I'm a planner. I like to know what's going on. I like to know what I'm doing. That situation, it truly forced me to live day by day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cheryl,
Yes.
share with him your saying for the year because he just hit it.
I know, and I was just telling them, I usually don't do New Year's resolutions. I just do, a saying for the year. And at first I was going to say, chosen. I had preached a sermon on we're chosen by God because a lot of people go through this stage of feeling rejected or abandonment, and so they go through these really different stages of how they perceive life through those eyes of rejection or abandonment. And so I was going to say, chosen. I'm chosen by God. That was going to be my slogan for that year. But I said no, and then I thought about being intentional, and then something just said, just be in the moment, flow, and allow space for the miracle to happen. We always planning everything out. We don't leave room for the miracle to happen.
I think everybody on this Zoom call is a planner and likes to know what's going to happen tomorrow, in an hour,
in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So based on your diagnosis, what were the cures for what you had? What were the options the doctors gave you?
So the two main ones were dialysis, which, I guess I can't say it's short term, but that's normally the first option for most people. And so to be honest with you, I was definitely intimidated by dialysis, definitely. And then the second choice, which is the best choice, is a transplant.
Well, I'll jump in going with this. So once we got to the nephrologist, they referred us to taking a dialysis education class where you learned about all those options for treating chronic kidney disease. So they talked about all the different types of dialysis. And then that's when they talked about transplant. And I mean, I had never really thought about kidney transplant. So that's the first time we heard about that as a treatment. And so then they referred us to the Prisma Transplant Center in Greenville, South Carolina, near where we live. And we went to like a whole day consultation, and that was Bobby's consultation that day, where he got a lot of tests. And then you speak to everybody. Like there's, like you mentioned, like in a financial planner, they asked about your plans, a social worker, psychologist, pharmacist, the surgeon. So you talk to all these people that are evaluating him, and you get to bring a support person, which was me. So I was just there as a support person there then. And they're asking us all these questions basically to see, are you a great candidate for a transplant? Because they want to make sure that, or, I guess they can't make sure, but what they want to hope that if you get this transplant, you would do the right thing. So you have to go through that process to even get listed. And then they talked about living donor. So you have to go through the same process, whether you go on the list for a deceased donor or a living donor. With his age, being so young, you're 38, you were 38 when we first found out, that for his best quality of life, like they said, a organ or a kidney from a living donor would be ideal for him, because kidneys from living donors usually work faster, usually last longer, and for his age, that's something that they really wanted. So, the surgeon encouraged, start asking your people, because a living donor is always ideal. It can happen faster if you get put on the list to wait. With your blood type, they said like 6.5, 7 years is the average wait, especially for his blood type being B positive. So I was thankful. So we definitely knew, okay,
let's get to work on that.
The process of asking people. So that was hard too. Well, how do you go about asking friends and family
for a kidney?
Yeah, we did it though.
Yeah, we did it.
We did it.
So go ahead, Bobby. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna add, to get the word out to my family. My grandmother had a 91st birthday party in Wilmington, Delaware last year in July. And keep in mind, that's basically like our family reunion. Our entire family was there. And of course, different people go up and speak. And my mother actually went up and spoke and talked about it. And that's how we got the word out to my family.
Wow.
And then we came back to South Carolina, and we just basically had a game night with a few of our friends, and kind of like halfway through the game night, we just stopped and took about 5 minutes and told them what was going on and how they could help if they wanted to.
Wow.
So how many people within your family or within your core friends did you get to actually do their blood work to see if they were a match?
Probably maybe 10 to 15.
Wow.
Sure, I don't know. We
That was
really don't
awesome.
know
Yeah,
for
because they can't
sure.
really tell us.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know
So-
the transplant coordinator, because I was going through it, did say that there was a lot of interest and a lot of people have tried, but they couldn't really give us details.
Okay.
But they got to the point where they said I'm the only one that she was working with, because I'm the only one that had started passing all of the tests. Like, it starts with the phone interview, then so after the phone interview, I passed that, just like blood type, health history, all of that. Then you have to do a round of blood work first. Then I passed that. Then I had to do like a 24-hour urine test and more blood work. And once you pass that, then I did all the x-rays, echo, a bunch of other tests. So then I
So
got
tell our listeners, who was the match for you, Bobby?
My baby girl, she came through.
All right.
It's the perfect match.
Yes.
So Bobby, what were you feeling when you found out and realized that Shira was the one again to be your rock?
It was a ton of emotion, because keep in mind, on September 12th, I was already scheduled to start the process of dialysis. So I had an outpatient surgery scheduled for September the 12th for them to actually go ahead and put the
port
abdomen to start dialysis. And so the week before that, that's when we found out that Shira was a match.
My God.
So the thing about it, to kind of go back, like I said, I was extremely intimidated about doing dialysis, but at the same time, it just got to a point to where we needed to do it. So I'm telling you, I had just made my peace with it. And it's like, as soon as I made my peace, the Lord he just took care of it for me. And so I found out, and I was just like, wow. And so for me, I was just like, do we need to go through with dialysis if my wife is able to donate me a kidney? And so we went to our doctors, and up until that time, I still hadn't had any symptoms at all, any of the major symptoms. And so they were like, well, they told us the risk and everything, but they were like, since you've been able to maintain so far, if they can set a date, we'll give you a shot. And they set a date, and we're here now.
Wow, the two shall become one.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all truly merged together.
Yes, you all have been blessed, a super blessing.
That is absolutely amazing, because she is not, connected to you via family by bloodline. And y'all married each other, and it's like God already knew that you would need her in that capacity. That is so amazing.
And just thinking about it, she was born in San Francisco. I was born in Wilmington, Delaware. I mean, two opposite sides of the United States, and we found each other.
You're together. Yeah.
Wow, that gave me chills, Bobby, you saying that.
But God.
Mm-hmm. So now we've heard about how you found out you were a match. So how has your life changed since your surgery?
To be honest, I guess with the restrictions, so like with the health and safety restrictions is changed, but I think the only change I feel physically is I do feel like I have a little more energy. And so before surgery, I don't think I realized that I was getting a little worn down, because I think it was just kind of my energy was going down gradually, so I couldn't tell day to day. But even with that, it wasn't extremely bad. I was still able to function, whether it was going to work or being in the yard playing with the kids or whatever. I probably would take a nap on the weekends, which I normally don't take naps, but I definitely would get a nap in during the weekend. But I just feel a little bit more energy. But outside of that, that's pretty much it.
What about you, Shira?
Oh goodness, we would talk about this. We just like keep going and we keep living. And I mean, I'm thankful that like with the transplant, he's able to do his normal activities. We were going to do the peritoneal dialysis, which would have put him having to be hooked up to something for like, was it 10 to 12 hours? So I can tell he has more energy. I know he's downplaying it, but I'm like, okay, no, you definitely do. And so just to see him to be able to interact with our kids and just do is great. We have definitely changed how we're eating because we had to, but it's really good overall for our health anyway. So it's been a lot better now. We just have to focus on low sodium when before we had to do a lot more sodium, potassium, all that. That was very complicated for me because Bobby does not cook and I cook because I have to. I don't enjoy it. So how it's changed, I'm having to cook every meal because he can't eat out now due to food safety, which is a good thing anyway, because of course when you cook that's healthier, you can control what's in it. So I've been getting a more positive attitude about food and cooking and planning. So on the weekends, we plan out food for the whole week and what we're going to eat every day for lunch and dinner. And then Bobby will go to the grocery store and then I kind of prep stuff. So we've just caused us to be more organized and planning, but it's been good.
Now I will tell you that the blessing within that is that now we have our kids eating better.
Yeah.
Yes.
From an early age. And so if I always say if I had to go through that again for my kids to have a better opportunity to not go through that, I'm cool with it. Cause I mean the way they're eating now is way better than I used to eat when I was a kid. And I'm just like, man, they're my kids. There's probably gonna be a good chance that they might be get high blood pressure too. So with them, having a low sodium diet and eating like us, and they don't know right now.
Right.
One more question, you all. How do you all view your together time since the surgery?
I'll say it's been better. I know we joined this after our kids went down to sleep. So when it comes to the weekday or like the weekdays, our time after we put the kids down is definitely the time we can spend together. And I feel like we have more time to do that because we're both awake now. like fall asleep before or I would. So that's time we can spend together. And on the weekends, we like to spend time with the kids unless I can get grandmommy to take the kids and we spend some time together. Like we stayed last Friday and my mom and watched her kids so we could go bowling, and that was fun to get out and do that because we've been really trying to be safe and cautious because the first 6 months after his transplant, his immune system is most compromised and it is cold and flu season. So we stayed in more, try to do things outside, but finding that balance on like, let's get out and do a little bit, but keeping it safe. So we've been able to.
So for young people that are listening to this podcast that could potentially be in a similar type of situation where one person is facing an illness that's a grave illness like you had, Bobby, what kind of advice or what would you consider your recipe to having a successful relationship through that type of crisis?
Oh man, it's just working together and trusting your support system. You gotta have a support system. I know I wouldn't have been able to get through this without having a great support system. And then at the end of the day, it was kind of hard to accept so much help because I'm used to being a doer and being a fixer, but just learning how to accept all that help. Because at the end of the day, all we're really here for is just to help each other. That's it.
Yes.
What we're here to do is help each other. And so I had to realize that I was in a time of need. So I had to allow myself to open up and let people help me. And so now that I'm getting on the right track, when I see that there's a need, with somebody that's in my life, just go ahead and help, because that's what we're here for.
Awesome. And then sometimes it's difficult, being the head of household, you're so used to being the one that do everything and making sure that your family is taken care of, making sure you're protecting them. And now you're in the space that you had to totally surrender to someone else helping you. That shows such strength and character on your part to realize, hey, I need the help. But that is awesome that you have a great support structure. And I'm glad to hear that you guys give such great wisdom to other couples that could be going through the similar situation, and that is to lean on your support structure.
Yeah. And I would also say you also have to have a pretty wife with great kidneys.
All right.
With a matching kidney.
Yes.
Shara,
Yes.
I know you said this your birthday present, this your Valentine's Day present, this your Christmas present,
Everything.
anniversary gift.
And he can never leave. And if he does, he better leave, you know what, with you. Say, what, you leaving? You better leave that kidney at the door.
Love those smiles. You all are a beautiful couple.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. And, I'll go ahead and say that it's been a joy to have you all at the island. We really appreciate you coming and sharing your story in hopes of it helping someone else that's going to go through this. You're not the first and you're not going to be the last, but the way that you're sharing it, with different organizations and people, you're sure to be a blessing to someone else. And so, and that I would like to say thank you. I've known Shira since she was in the second grade. It's awesome to see how you've grown to be such a loving mother, wife, educator. And I just want to tell y'all to just keep doing what you're doing, keep loving each other, keep loving on your children. Okay. By the way, I spoke to them today. And all they did was laugh at me.
Hey, at least you got that. I hope they gave you a smile too.
They did. So I don't have anything else. If you or Beverly have anything else.
I just want to say to everybody that's listening, for Valentine's Day, what a gift of love that they gave each other. And that's a piece of one another. That is such an awesome thing. That's the best gift ever, is to give yourself to your loved one.
Ditto. Just keep loving on each other and live life like it's golden together.
Yes. So on that note, thank you again for coming to the island, and you are welcome anytime.
Yeah, thank you. We had a good time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, we're back at the island. What's going on?
My video is all out of whack. So I'm grateful for no video.
I think it's time for an attitude of gratitude segment, y'all.
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready. Is it okay if I start?
Yes, go right ahead.
Well, my attitude of gratitude is hallelujah. First of all, we all made it to 2023. My mother is 99.
Wow.
And we're all in good health. So I'm just happy to be with you all for another season. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, my attitude of gratitude is that my stepfather had been diagnosed with Parkinson's. And once they did the actual CAT scan and MRI on his brain, he found out that he actually had a mass on his brain that turned out to be a type of fungal infection. So the neurologist and the optometrist and the infectious disease control within the city of Atlanta, they were able to conduct the surgery to remove the mass, which just recently happened like yesterday. In I want to say Piedmont Hospital in Atlanta, on Peachtree Street, they are excellent when it comes to dealing with the brain. And he came out of surgery successful, and he's now getting. I know, I'm so excited about that. now he has to go through and do the rehab piece of it, from the cognitive skills and all of that. So just keep him in your prayers. But he came out of the surgery successful, and the mass is gone out of his brain, and he doesn't have Parkinson's.
That is
It was
crazy
the
good.
mass that was in his brain that was causing all the problems.
Yes.
And it wasn't, and the actual mass was benign. That's another attitude of gratitude, something else I was grateful for.
That is crazy
Yes.
good news, like crazy good. That's
That's wonderful.
Thank God. Well, my attitude of gratitude is, as I already said, I had surgery back in November, and I'm taking baby steps. I'm not trying to rush my recovery, but I'm now able to put my boot down on the floor and kind of shuffle a little bit with my walker. And my doctor told me that I could drive, long as I took the boot off and put a sandal on. So yesterday was my first time driving. And I guess I drove maybe about 5 to 10 miles and came back home. So I'm excited for my nurse, who is my daughter. That is my attitude of gratitude. She has taken very good care of me. I couldn't have gotten a better person. She's done it without any type of, she's just been on it. My every
Your every move.
My every move, even before I move, she's on it. So
and
thank
Cheryl
God.
and I have been witnesses, so we can attest to that. She's been awesome.
Yes.
Ashley is fantastic. So kudos to Ashley for taking such awesome care of her mom.
Exactly. And so before we close, I would like to, for those listeners who don't know already, one of our guests that we had last year, Carlos Archer, actually passed away from cancer. And so he will be sorely missed. Yes. And we want to dedicate this episode to him and his legacy. He was a trooper. He was a fighter. He fought to the very end. And I know for me personally, I will definitely miss our talks that he and I would have. So keep his mother in your prayers. That was her only child. And so we want to dedicate this episode to Carlos.
To Carlos.
To Carlos.
To Carlos. So on that note, ladies, we are going to say bye.
Keep listening, everybody.
Ciao, Bella.